sound.
Test.
So, the three of us are here, kind of like a weird makeshift show. We got a lot of noise around us because we decided to do this awkward show in a Starbucks.
Is that the title? The Awkward Show?
That's the new title, Awkward Show. In fact, I don't really have a show kind of that would fit the category that we're doing now, which I think we're going to talk about films.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, guerrilla interviewing, guerrilla filmmaking.
You talk to gorillas?
No, it's like you say, he's never worked on film before, so.
No, hold on. To be fair, let me introduce guys. I'm Carlos Phoenix. To your right, you got Hugo Bravo. And then to your left, you got Juan, Pineda. Everybody here in this little panel or whatever is or has worked in some kind of form in illustration or the comic book field. So I think what we're going to do is chat about either comics or comic book movies.
Let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, and then we'll probably just flow into things. It's rare that I get a chance to be in New York and kind of put together a little episode. So I thought we'd all get together and just start chatting. So, what's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Yo, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me. So what do you want to start off with?
See Spider-Man yet?
I have seen Spider-Man.
I haven't.
Hugo has not seen Spider-Man.
No
So
spoilers.
I didn't know. Yeah. And see, he's bad with that. He's like, oh, please don't tell me. So he might have half the episode covering his ears. I don't know.
No, but there's other stuff. I don't know, Avengers or maybe what's coming. I don't know.
Oh, the Dark Knight is coming out?
Okay. And none of us has seen it. So
Nope.
it just be random chatter about what we think is going to happen.
Wow.
But I've read the comic that theoretically it's based off of.
Nightfall.
Did you ever read that one?
No.
You just don't belong on this panel.
Let's go. Let's go.
No. I've been on the Batman since the New 52s, and I gotta admit the writing. I didn't think there would be that much, like, I guess you could say, oomph to storylines within some of these comics. But very impressed. I'm collecting both Detective Comics, Dark Knight, and I think one that's just called Batman.
So you've been reading the Scott Snyder stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, Snyder's doing a great job on it.
Really
What's
cool.
funny is that he was doing Detective, and before the 52, out of most of the new revamps, that one has changed the least. It didn't need any improvement. I mean, Batman was good before the 52, and is still good. Court of Owls, the whole storyline. And even the whole Damian Robin son, Batman, Bruce Wayne, Father of the Year. Maybe not, but still, it's a great story.
Well, I mean, you're usually pretty familiar with the comic book that the movie is based on. Can you want to elaborate a little bit on it?
All right. So, as you know, you got Bane in the movie. In the comic books, Bane is this Mexican luchador who uses this substance called venom, which enhances his strength, makes him super strong and ginormous.
It's almost like steroids, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like a super steroid.
But it's like instantaneous response. Type
yeah. And actually, Bane was the character in the Batman and Robin movie.
Yes, there's this side character that looked like this muscular freak.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like a throw-in.
Is that the Schumacher?
Yeah, it was one of the Schumacher movies.
Yeah.
But in the storyline in the comic book called Nightfall, he breaks Batman's back. And Batman has to...
Oh, spoiler.
It was like 20 years ago. So he breaks his back. So yeah, thinking that Dark Knight Rises is somewhat based on Nightfall. If you look at the trailer, you get the sense that at one point Batman is gone. People are waiting for him to come back.
And it starts this whole new storyline also.
Yeah.
With the Azrael.
Well, it's
Isn't it when he was injured and he's kind of taken the Batman's...
Right, this new character who took it upon himself to become Azrael, takes over the Batman mantle, and he takes down Bane in the comic book, which, is another storyline. That storyline lasted a couple of years or so in the comic books until Bruce Wayne healed. He got better, and he became Batman again.
Right, but that's after Israel became kind of a wacko and
it was a bit more intense.
He was trying to kill all the villains.
Yeah.
And so Batman said, "Okay, well, I don't do that, and you're not going to do that under the premise of my name." But okay, so that kind of leads into the whole other thing. But with what I find interesting in the way the comic book portrayal it goes, I know you didn't totally finish the storyline, is how they kind of lead into the movie version, which is after they had the great movie with the Joker, and Batman kind of semi-retires or something. He kind of
takes the rap for Harvey Dent, for Two-Face, save his name, and it's implied that this Dark Knight Rises takes place several years after that, and he's Bruce Wayne is somewhat retired, but then he's brought back in because of Bane. I think rumored Ra's al Ghul is also going to make an appearance, and then Selena Kyle, Catwoman. I don't know if she'll be actually called Catwoman in the movie, but she comes in.
I think it's pretty straightforward that they might call her Catwoman.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think she's going to be the good girl as opposed to the bad girl.
Right, that ambiguous
mixture of the both.
That ambiguous love interest, sexual tension between Batman and Catwoman.
All right, let me ask you something. Now, in the Schumacher film, Bane came across as the hired hand to Poison Ivy or something like that.
Right.
More like a muscle brute
henchman
who just does whatever. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they seem to have given him more of a, I guess you could say,
it's a lot closer to the comic book portrayal.
Yeah, it's much closer to the comic. In the comic book, he was very intelligent, very calculated. He really formulated a way of beating the heck out of that, outside of brute strength. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it was it wasn't a Hulk smash scenario where he just happened to be a victim of the guy smashing. It was more of a calculated.
It was like a crime lord. Right. He had a cartel. He had an organized crime lord distributing this venom substance that he had developed. I don't think they're going to go into the venom in the Dark Knight Rises movie. He's wearing this mask, and it's supposed to be injecting some sort of, I understand,
like an aerosol,
morphine painkiller kind of thing. There's a story behind it, which fits into
Speaking
the
of
universe.
which, do you think they'll go into any kind of origin with him, or he'll just be already Bane?
I think to give the character some substance, they would have to. Whether they're going to go too deep,
maybe like a flashback.
Well, it's hard to say because the Joker really didn't have too much. He didn't have an origin.
No,
he was like, "Oh, my parents beat me." I mean, that was it.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah, Nolan's style is he likes to show, not to tell. So it'll be implied, it'll be brought in there. It'll be well thought out, developed. I got high hopes for the movie, although overall these are not the Batman movies I want to see. In the end, I kind of want to see something more that has more high adventure than what the Chris Nolan has given Batman over the years. But regardless, it's still going to be a good movie to watch. But I think for me,
so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
The stylization of these series of movies compared to the other one. The other one was very cartoonish in style. The
Schumacher and Tim Burton ones.
Yeah, the Tim Burton style of doing film, and just comic book movies in general. There's things like the Green Lantern, which to me, I didn't care for the movie that much, but it had at least some sense of adventure and just action, and you kind of just rode on the movie on that alone. Where then you have things like the Spider-Man movies or films, where they're really trying to kind of put a depth in the character, so that you really care about whatever he's going through. And he's not just, I'm a hero and that's that. He's more like, well, yeah, well, my personal life really sucks. In Batman, of course, the guy's a rich guy. But in terms of the way they formulated the story and us wanting to care for the character, it's very distinct and different from the original Batman movies.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Look, I'm all for character development and feeling as much as I can for the personalities that I'm seeing, because when the highs and the lows happen in the storyline, I totally enjoy the emotional ride as well as the thrill ride. And you brought up the Green Lantern. Green Lantern made me think of Fantastic Four. And you got Fantastic Four on one side, and then you got the X-Men on the other. There was more emotional attachment to characters in the X-Men than there was in the Fantastic Four. And when it comes down to just the story and the way a script is just developed, there's movies where there's more than one protagonist, a la Avengers, but yet maybe because of the history with the characters, but I know is that every time there was stress issues among any of them, like I was there with each individual, feeling their angst and pains and all that. I mean, the Fantastic Four had a huge, long history. You know, they're not just new guys out of nowhere. People know who they are. So is, you know, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and all of that. But, you know, the movies didn't do anything for me along the lines of that. Bells and whistles, special effects, the thrill ride at Universal Studios, it delivered on that. But, you know, it just wasn't what was currently being put out by the same houses. You know, Fantastic Four, Marvel, DC, Green Lantern. Yet when it came to the Batmans of the new ones, which I agree with you compared to the old ones, there's definitely much more substance in there. And I'm thinking, like, if it's being done for one guy, let's just do it for everybody else. I think it would just, right off the back, it would contribute to, like, you know, sales. Because people would be like, yo, you gotta go see that movie.
Right.
And then on the second, one can develop attachments towards these characters so that as they pull out, you know, episode 2, 3, and 4, you guarantee that audience. You know, I mean, if you put out another Green Lantern movie, I mean, who's going to line up for that? You know, I mean, they're about to put out another movie with Wolverine. Like, it's still a little gray as to how that'll succeed. Right. So,
well, there's a lot of new movies that are coming out, comic book related. You got a whole new series of Thor, and Captain America, Iron Man.
They announced the Guardians of the Galaxy.
You know, they're going to be announcing the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which is something that I've been attached to and very, very proud of. Especially, you know, the origins of that. I cannot tell you. It's so exciting to me because, you know, this is Marvel saying, hey, listen, it's not just the costume superheroes. We have other sides of our universe. We have a universe that takes place in space. We have a universe that's magic oriented. We have so many different sides of the Marvel universe, and the Guardians announcement is something that just will tell fans, hey, we're tapping into all this stuff, all in due time. But Guardians is something that's just unbelievably exciting to me.
Are you happy?
Which is a C-list level of
comic book characters. Then you also got the Superman series that are coming out soon.
yeah, it's next year.
They postponed the G.I. Joe movie until next year.
Yeah, they wanted to convert it to 3D.
Well, so there's just a whole other, you know, whole new wave of comic book movies.
I mean, this one's not mainstream in that sense, but it is very historical. The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp, that's coming out.
Yeah, Johnny Depp is Tonto with.
You know, also Judge Dredd, the remake.
Yeah,
That's it. I seen the trailer. Really I wasn't really all that caught up in the trailer. Sorry.
It looks like The Raid with Judge Dredd in it.
Yeah, not only that, but it also.
I seen that.
I hate to think of this, but
What, The Raid? Yeah, it was great. It was really good.
It's a Japanese movie.
Well, not Japanese, it's Filipino.
Filipino. Oh, yo, like it's
Don't watch the trailer. This guy, then this happens, and then there's like, and then
put it this way.
And then yeah,
They can't release it here. It's too bananas with what happens.
I saw it in the theater here. I saw it in Forest Hill.
But maybe that's just like a little independent thing because the level of violence, the creativity of how it's done it's like a work of art.
The
Like,
storyline is, and it's like you don't even know the characters' names, or whatever. It's basically this drug lord has this apartment building under complete control, and these cops just want to go in, and it becomes like a video game. They just go level by level, and they fight bosses, and they keep on going until they reach the top level guy. But with the action, the shooting, and
right, it's the choreography that separates.
Was the building like this kind of?
Yeah.
I think I might have seen that.
I haven't.
I just remember it being ridiculously just. As they kept going up the stairs, the levels just got more difficult and crazy.
Yep.
And they were doing like crazy moves and unlimited bullets and.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just.
But yeah, there is a scene in the trailer for Judge Dredd that you're right. It does seem like that. They're like across this weird building complex. They seal themselves in,
Yep.
which I think is just a lack of story, but whatever.
or just maybe a lack of building a set.
True. Maybe the budget.
Because the last Dredd movie, they spent a lot of time and effort into creating Mega City 1
Yeah.
and that whole environment. They wanted to do what Ridley Scott did with Blade Runner, but throw Stallone in there with the helmet on.
Yeah, the one thing I did like about the Dredd movies was the guns.
Yeah, the giant.
And the rules. They really focused on the rules. And I didn't feel that, at least in the trailer. Maybe they just haven't released a full-blown trailer.
No, probably not. Because the rules, I mean, that's for the comic book fan.
Right.
You know, that's to hook them in.
Well, yeah, but that's still, I feel, essential to the core character of Dredd.
Yeah, but you see in the trailer with the Carl Urban one, he does kind of almost say, "I am the law."
He does, but it wasn't as powerful as Stallone.
Stallone? Oh, yeah.
Because that's all he was the law. There's nothing else. I'm the law, I'm the law, I'm the law, I'm the law. The message is rewind and play back. But okay. So, Spider-Man. How do we do this without revealing too much?
Bro, I mean, that's
Oh,
what
how
next
do we keep it
episode.
general?
All right.
In comparison to the old movies, what were your likes and dislikes in the film?
All right, in the way it looked, with the new camera they shot it in, the overall tone, the color palette, it had a little bit of a darker, more grounded look, much like the way Dark Knight is compared to the Schumacher movies. Not that Sam Raimi and Schumacher movies, are that colorful, but it definitely had that different kind of a tone, more of a grounded reality. Since it is basically a reboot, they had to change a lot of the origin elements, or else it would just wind up being a remake. The Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie was very close to the comic.
I agree.
So they had to change a few aspects. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't a bad change. It was a very interesting take on it. They focus on his parents, which you can see in the trailer.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Which is not a storyline that is focused a lot in the comic books even. This hasn't happened in the movies, but in the comic book, Peter Parker's parents were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and they were killed by the Red Skull. Yeah. You'll never see that in the movies.
Well, one thing that I hear a lot of chatter about is the fact that they went with non-organic spiderweb.
That was a big change. That was good. I like that.
I liked it because that was based on the original. The original, he wasn't organic. In other words, he's not spreading, webs out of his hands
Or his butt.
or his butt. He went there and scientifically did his little cartridges and
The writer,
and
they
shots.
remembered that Peter Parker's a genius.
That's right.
He's smart.
So I enjoyed that part. The fact that they kind of got a little bit into getting into the building of these little hand-triggered webbings. And they justified the science behind it a little bit
Yep.
in the movie, but I won't get into that. Let's go with just visual effects. What'd you think of that?
They were great.
I thought the lizard looked beautiful.
He looked fantastic.
It was believable to me.
Absolutely. A giant 9-foot lizard. And not the traditional snout that you see.
Exactly.
A lot like the way Steve Ditko drew him in the first Amazing Spider-Man comics, more of a flat face, but which is a good choice because Reese Ifans, the actor, did the expressions, did the voice, did the talking as a lizard, so he was able to express emotionally and convey that with that lizard face, which was a bit more of a gross, freaky out kind of a thing, which you saw in the trailer, what it looked like. So that, I think he looks great. I was a little wary about the lizard to begin with, because it just was going to become like a monster movie, but since Kurt Connors and Elizabeth was teased so often in the Raimi movies, I think finally we got him, and in a very satisfying.
I agree. I think they did a good job in terms of not making. You know how movies can sometimes turn things into a very sarcastic.
Could have been very cheesy.
Yeah, exactly. Cheesy. The banter between the two, the one-liners.
Yeah.
They really kind of didn't go there, and kept it focused on. There's a little bit of there's a meaning towards his actions, and there's a reason why Spider-Man's the way he is too. I don't think they just blindly threw things together, and I think I enjoyed the fact that things do kind of connect. I don't think there was a lot of unwarranted, throwing in of lines that really were like, oh, well, they just had to throw that in.
Like too convenient of a location or too convenient of a coincidence. It all tied in together very well, very succinctly.
Mm-hmm. There's also a great scene with Stan Lee. Probably one of the best scenes.
His best cameos.
Of his cameos out of all the Marvel movies. Very enjoyable. And I think total classic. I think it's going to be an epic moment. Just like there's an epic moment in the Avengers movie where the Hulk is doing his rampage and just grabs the god and throws him around.
That was great. He stole the movie.
Yeah, I totally.
Oh yeah, in Avengers, big time. The Hulk was the star, which is odd because he just kind of was.
He didn't even want to be there.
They kind of gave up on him, on the character, after Ed Norton was unceremoniously kicked out of the Avengers movie. And they thought they weren't ever going to do a Hulk movie again, but Ruffalo...
Oh, they have to with him now.
Now, yeah. I think
but I would hate to see another origin.
No, I think they're going to keep it in within the universe. He referred to... They made reference to the Ed Norton movie in the Avengers.
They did.
So I guess it's keeping within that continuity.
Well, that's good.
So,
and they should stay that way.
But Ruffalo, who's always been an acclaimed actor, but like in the art house area, not too mainstreamy. But I think this may take him to the next level. And if he wasn't a household name before, he surely is now. And he's also a very good actor. He's always been really good. So I think
he's a character I believe in. When he plays his roles, I feel
in his human version of the role, I think it was fantastic. And then just the
he reminded me more of Bill Bixby than any of the other two guys.
Well, there was a little bit of reference to that, either in a theme song or I know the Norton character was built on the Bill Bixby character, and that whole loneliness type of thing. But here it was a little bit of Bill Bixby because of the science type of thing.
Did they play the little piano chords in the piano chords in the Hulk movie?
Right.
Yeah, they did.
At some point in the movie, I think they did.
But Ringo made a cameo.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. No, I'll get around to more Ram.
Okay, who's seen Prometheus?
Oh boy,
I didn't.
Oh my god.
You have not seen Prometheus?
Nah, I keep hearing that.
Why do you bring him along?
I keep hearing that it
you guys did start sliding.
I keep hearing that it was a letdown of some kind.
Well, what's interesting about Prometheus is that the movie works on two levels.
Yes.
On an excellent science fiction movie level, and on a what the hell are you talking about level.
I agree. I'd say I agree with the two levels, but I see it two different levels. One is, and I apologize for the noise, guys. We are in a Starbucks, so they make stuff. One is if you're going in thinking that it's a prequel to Aliens, it is and it isn't. But it's a movie that does not want to be part of the Aliens movies. Yet the whole reason it exists is because when Ridley Scott did the original Aliens, there was a piece of the movie that he wanted to really become part of the lore.
The pilot.
Yeah, there's a scene where there's this space jockey.
Yeah, it's the space jockey.
Which is the pilot of the ship that crashed or whatever happened to that ship on the first Alien movie.
Right,
they found the eggs and whatever.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right. He wanted to elaborate on that movie, but he didn't. He pulled that stuff out, movie company or whatever. and he's held on to it for all these years, and he wanted now to make something that's made people think. You know, where do we come from, and so on. And he, for some reason, wanted the space jockey to have relevance to that. So then that's the second one. The second one is, you know, where do we come from? If you go into the movie thinking that you're going to find out an answer about where we come from, it's there, and yet it's not. So on both ends, there's a success and a failure at the same time.
A lot of allusions to
Having that answer.
to Christianity, because they reference Christmas. The storyline takes place during Christmas. There's
hints towards Jesus having an involvement with all this.
The space Jesus. There's hints to engineering. Not a hint. Just it outright says that we were engineered by aliens, and they left a message behind to come and find them. And what we find is this
Mess.
space goo that turns little worms into giant space hunters.
Well, to elaborate a little bit on that, the space goo, there's this great opening sequence, which is supposed to kind of help us understand what the purpose of this goo is. And now it seems like one of these aliens is sacrificing himself. Perhaps a la Jesus, we don't know. But it may be a knowing or not knowing sacrifice. He touches this goo, and it breaks down his
DNA.
entire genetic structure. It just falls apart. He just turns into, not ash, but DNA that falls apart and falls into this waterfall, which is representative of him just kind of flowing his essence of life to the rest of the planet. And then it reconstructs the DNA to put the foundation of life into this new planet that has water. So it's an interesting intro, but what they do with that concept is really awkward in the movie. And so what were your feelings about the film in general?
All right, so when I first saw the movie and I sat down and I was entertained as I was watching it and intrigued. It's a beautiful visual movie. Big fan of Ridley Scott.
Did you see that 3D or?
See it 3D? 3D doesn't know. I usually avoid 3D. 3D doesn't work for me.
Well, 3D actually was very good in this. The depth of this environment that he created, I thought was very good.
Actually, no, I think I did see it in 3D.
Was it shot or converted?
It's converted. I think it was converted, yeah. But I was entertained, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it. And then, as I started thinking about it, as I do with a lot of movies, I started wondering a lot of this stuff. Like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. And then that happened, and that's
Well, I think part of the mystery or the confusion is that he was mixing Christianity with Sumerian culture. And unless you're familiar with the lore or the legends of Sumerian gods and creation and all that type of stuff, you kind of lose that half of the thinking process that might have been put in the construction of the movie, and you kind of just stay focused on the Christian portion of the movie, and then you have these holes because parts of Christianity don't really match up with what was being said or done.
it's very subtle. You know, that kind of pointing out what's going on and what he or the writers were trying to say, what their message was. On that level, on a mainstream level, it's entertaining. You have this strong heroine. Maybe the first question is, start asking, why is there a machine that is only built for men? She gave birth to the octopi thing, or extracted from her, which is the goriest space scene I've ever. I mean, that was an intense scene. That was.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes, and if you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, the movie does try to touch upon some of that gore that we're so familiar with in the original Aliens movie.
Yeah.
You know, some shock that we remember from the classic movie.
There's parallels. You have a strong female character like Ripley.
Correct.
You have Shaw, the Numira Pace character. You have the Michael Fassbender is the android, the Bishop character, or you know, which you kind of question his motives. Like, he does things to the goo where he poison somebody. Like, what's his motive? What's he thinking? What was he told? Lots of more questions that I'm thinking. Like, why is Guy Pearce playing an old man? Why isn't an old man playing an old man? There's more stuff going on, so it's one of those wait homers where you're like, that was a great movie, and then on the way home you're like, wait.
Well, I find it as an interesting reset to the alien world, where he probably didn't like the direction it went in, and said, you know what? Well, let's give that world a chance and take it a different direction.
I hate the direction it went in. I love Alien and Aliens. 3 and 4 do not exist for me.
True. And then what about the versus
Alien
Predator
Predator?
movies?
That was kind of cool because I was a big fan of the comic books, and you're kind of like happy to see that they actually did Alien versus Predator.
I thought the first Alien versus Predator was terrible.
Yeah, no, they're crappy movies.
The second one was more like, it gave me that feeling of when I saw in Jurassic Park the dinosaur walking down a neighborhood, and it was very kind of camera angle was on a ground level that you're like, wow, that would be what I would see. And I thought that the second Aliens versus Predator movie gave me that feeling of, well, this is what it would look like on a street level. Aliens just kind of running around rampant.
I mean, that franchise, that part, really was, it didn't do. I went to see one. I didn't go see the second.
Oh, yeah, the second one's better.
I don't know, man. It just didn't do anything for me. Now, the Predator movies, the franchise as a whole, to me, excellent series.
Did you see Predators?
Yeah,
with Adrian Brody as a tough guy.
That was good.
I'm Adrian Brody.
Did you like that?
I
didn't like it.
See, the thing
is, two different guys.
Adrian Brody cracked me up. He had talking like this, or I'm the tough guy.
No, look.
Oh,
Rodriguez.
Queens like me.
That's how I feel about Batman.
Look.
I'm not a big fan of that.
Robert Rodriguez took him back to where it came from. You know what I'm saying? Like strong characters where they each were like a little superhero on themselves. You know what I mean? Each character had its own uniqueness. He had the original soundtrack, which
that's
to
a
me
brilliant
was
soundtrack.
like awesome.
That never came out on CD, right?
No, very limited. Now, yeah, the original soundtrack, and then just the opening sequence, falling from the sky, not knowing what's going on. Like I was skydiving with him because nothing was smooth like the way the first Predator was. We're going in the jungle, we're taking care of business. This one, you're in it already. It's like Mount Rushmore. You're going down into the, in the hell, like
Mount Rushmore.
I left that one alone.
It was.
What Mount Rushmore did you go to?
I'm just saying that, to me, the way the storyline, developed throughout was great. The only flaw in that one,
Adrian Brody.
No, was when what's his name?
Adrian Brody.
No. The guy that ended up getting the cloning device. And he had the mask, he was able to clone himself just like the rest of the Predators. Like, if they had access to that technology, why didn't they just keep using it in their battle against the Predators, But it was good. It was really good.
All right. Well, let's kind of start finalizing this. As far as summer blockbusters, we've had a few already out. Has anybody seen Lincoln?
No.
I wanted to.
Did you?
3D, beautiful.
Really?
Didn't expect that. I wasn't even going to see it in 3D. I thought visually it was beautiful. Storyline, I just sat back and enjoyed. I didn't know what direction it was really going to go in. I didn't read the books. And I just had fun with it. So, in terms of an enjoyable film, I sat back, I enjoyed it. Whether I definitely run to the theaters to see it, unless you just want to see a great 3D kind of visual, definitely I'd say a go. So if you haven't seen it, maybe DVD or Blu-ray.
Alright.
But Spider-Man, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, so we got a yay
seen
for
it twice
that.
already.
What else is coming out?
Ted, funniest movie of the year.
Oh, you enjoyed Ted?
Oh my god.
A co-worker didn't like it.
Was it too dirty or?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so he likes that. So if we ever do a show again, just remember that.
So you're talking about what's due to come out, not what already came out.
What's come up? Because some people may not have seen the movies that are just out.
Avengers, you better run.
Okay.
Everybody's seen Avengers.
So yes on the Avengers. What else?
The Avengers was awesome.
I guess a yes on a Batman.
Definitely yes on the Batman.
Alright.
Well, there's a few, man. There's a new Bourne Identity movie coming out. That franchise is awesome.
Wait, how many legacies how many franchises can Jeremy Renner have? He's Hawkeye. He's in the Mission Impossible movies, and now he's Cross in the Bourne movies.
Yeah, well, he's got a great manager. But that movie, I think, is going to definitely deliver. That franchise, was awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Mentioned Dread. That looks good.
Oh, Total Recall. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. The trailer to that reminded me of Blade Runner.
What is it? What's wrong?
It's all a mistake. Nobody.
Well, that's weird because they were both written by Philip K. Dick.
Well, visually they got it nice.
So Len Wiseman directed Total Recall of the Underworld movies. So he's got that visual eye going on already.
Yeah.
That one looks
I'm
really
thinking,
promising.
I want to see how they do
Watto.
See how they do that.
Remember that?
Total Recall?
They had the guy with the
He had to go to Mars and he had to work the Quad. Yeah, that's I always have to have. But I'm thinking this movie, the first Total Recall, you kind of were pretty sure that it wasn't like in his memory that he did go to Mars, he did the whole thing. I think this one's gonna be more of a mess with your mind kind of a thing,
Right.
than the Schwarzenegger version. Oh, speaking of Schwarzenegger, Expendables 2.
That's right.
That looks good. I saw the first one. I enjoyed it.
That was fun. I just hope that Chuck Norris is playing himself.
What?
What do you want from me, Church?
I knew the day would come when you were going to pay me back. You can't let the contents of that safe fall into the wrong hands.
Track him, find him, kill him.
You're gonna need more men if you expect to get out of here alive.
You're terminated.
In your dreams.
Here we go!
The shoe is bigger than this car.
Shoot something!
You're not doing what I think you're doing.
Yeah, I
The Expendables 2. You're gonna need a new plane.
And we're back. So we're talking about the Expendables.
Yeah, Expendables 2.
I love the first one.
A lot of fun.
Little surprise of the Dolph Lundgren character and his coming back
Yeah.
to the team. But so what do you think is going to be a big deal on this one?
Schwarzenegger coming back.
Yeah,
Now Jackie Chan is not in this.
he is.
He is in this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was Jet Li.
It was Jet Li.
Oh yeah, no, Jet Li was in the first one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Jet Li is coming back with the second one. I thought you were referring to.
Well, because I'm thinking, it's based on, if they're using our classic heroes, actors, action heroes,
Oh, Van Damme.
and Van Damme, and what and I'm sure you probably know this by now, but Jackie Chan retired. But I would have thought, you know what, make this your last hurrah. I want to see. I'm a big fan of Jackie.
Yeah, no, I don't think Chan
I'd love to have
needs
seen him as among the other heroes that we grew up with in the film world.
Okay, my only argument for not having him at all in the franchise, I believe, is just because his stuff always had like a comic side to it.
But not because we wanted it that way.
No, I know, but if you put 10 of his pictures together, they lean more towards the comic side. And when you look at the cast that's in the Expendables, these guys were all, for whatever it was, serious in that sense. I mean, mind you, Schwarzenegger walks that.
I don't think he likes, and I think that would have been more reason for him to have his last hurrah. And I don't know why this turned into a Jackie Chan conversation. I'm just dumb that way.
Yeah, we're looking at Schwarzenegger and Willis having a more expanded role. Van Damme coming back after so many years of box office.
Well, he kind of made his own demise there.
I think Chuck Zito ruined his career.
Well, that and just everything that was going on in behind the scenes of his career.
Yeah, and like the movie trends steered away from the hyper muscular dudes in this cartoony thing where you had Tom Cruise.
It'd be nice to see Wesley Snipes in this movie too.
Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, smaller guys, Jeremy Renner doing the action movies now. Tobey Maguire, where they got away from.
You're right.
The trends didn't need a big action star like that anymore. You got Colin Farrell replacing Arnold Schwarzenegger. Total Recall. In the book, the Quaid character, is more of a Woody Allen type. So it is kind of going back to the way he was written originally. So
Expendables, a see or must see or
yeah, I gotta see it.
I say a must see.
I gotta see it opening weekend.
The first one was great.
Yeah.
it was. Well, G.I. Joe we know got postponed, but in the trailers that we've seen, would you have said, you know what, I gotta see that in the theaters?
I didn't see the first one, but
I think you would have hated the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone that did said no to the first one.
But I think the second one looks good.
Yeah, I didn't like the first one. And so,
here's a movie that we left out. Now that G.I. Joe was mentioned, was Battleship. I ain't gonna see it, but I don't know. I think it didn't do that well. Right?
I enjoyed it as just, there's two ways I go to the movies. One is I expect a really good storyline, such as Batman. I would expect a really good storyline because I've already seen the silly adventure stuff. Battlefield was like an adventure, and I was trying to figure out at what point in the movie are you going to do this whole board game? And they did it. And it made sense, and I was surprised, and I liked that.
And you say they did not?
They did.
Oh.
There's a whole sequence, if you're not going to see the movie, I might as well just tell you, where the alien ships are trying to track. They're trying to track the alien ships, and they can't. The technology is blocking their sonar, all that stuff. So they're using buoys in the ocean. That's usually for tsunamis and stuff. And the ship, for whatever reason, these spaceships don't really fly. They kind of just pop. So I don't know if it's because gravity affects them in some stupid way. But
doing all this way,
the ships are just so big that they kind of they come off the water, hover for a little bit, and then drop on the water again, triggering the buoys. So when they look at this grid on the map, the buoys are triggering, meaning the alien ship is there. So they shoot everything to that buoy. And that's like how you're saying the battleship.
That's how you play the game.
Exactly how you play the game. Like, oh, well, I hit something here. That means if I follow these other four dots, he's around those four dots. So I was like, all right, that's slick. They use a buoy system that we're familiar with, tsunamis, Japan, etc. So interesting.
Sounds clever.
Yeah, I thought it was clever. Visually, visual effects I thought were pretty good. But whether it's a must-see, I'd wait for Blu-ray.
I don't know. I think it was a desperate casting call where you have to stick in someone like Rihanna in a movie. You know what I mean? I'm like, no one else is showing up. I mean,
I
must
think
be a reason.
Rihanna's like her manager, trying to expand her.
Yeah, but I could have done something a little bit more human than
sure, something that something that can focus on her acting ability if she has any.
Maybe she doesn't, so they stuck her in this.
I mean, you got to make money somehow, and if you got a name, she got in the movie.
You see Magic Mike?
At least she's not in the Expendables.
All right, Magic Mike. You gonna see Magic Mike?
No. When Magic Mike launched in my small town neighborhood, the small town was only men out in the open for that one day, the launch day. All the women in the entire town were in the theater watching Magic Mike.
All right, all I gotta say is if you go, you only need to stay for the first 3 minutes. Because Olivia Munn is topless in the first 3 minutes of the movie. After that, you can leave.
Wonderful. So I think it's been fun. It's great seeing you guys. And, we'll discuss about doing more episodes or maybe I'll just fly to New York every weekend.
There you go.
And, but thank you guys.
Call us down to Atlanta when they're doing a Walking Dead shoot in April.
Actually, I do bump into some of the actors of The Walking Dead. They're shooting in my area, my town, or the next town over. They shot in my daughter's high school in season 2, and so and even when you talk to them, you try to pull some information out of them. Very secretive. They rather just tell jokes about what's going on outside of the set as opposed to anything that's going on in the set. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Do you want to share any websites you guys are participating in or doing anything with?
Well, you can find samples of my work, my illustration work at bravOillustrations.com. You also friend me on Facebook as Bravo Illustration.
He needs friends.
Yes. So Bravo's an illustrator, and he's getting his updated modern social marketing life together.
Go to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm being told to get Twitter. I'll explore that.
My Twitter is at Juan C. Pineda. And you can just follow me there. I'll post stuff about comics, video game reviews, movies, whatever crosses my mind, whenever or wherever.
Awesome. And I am Carlos at Carlos Phoenix on Twitter and Carlos Phoenix on Facebook. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching.
Awesome.
Yay!